What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down advice that I feel all wide receivers need to hear. So I hope this video helps you guys out. Hope it could teach you a few new things. But also, fellas, if you are a wide receiver or a quarterback and would like to train with myself and my staff of coaches this offseason, we are going to be traveling out to 15 different states across the country for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver training camps. So our first two camps in San Francisco and Orlando are completely sold out, but we will be coming out to Phoenix, Arizona, Charlotte, North Carolina, Dallas, the DMV, St. Louis, Honolulu, Boston, Cleveland, Austin, Seattle, Newark, Denver, and Los Angeles, California. So check out that very first link below if you guys would like some more information on that and how you can sign up. Let's get started with this video. So now, the number one thing that not enough wide receivers can do, not enough wide receiver coaches talk about, is the mind game off the line, trying to set up this DB and get into this DB's head. So how can we do that? And that comes from making your routes, making your releases all look the same. Davante Adams is probably the best in the league at doing that. So let's watch this first route here. He's running a fade route. He gives his famous hesitation move, crossover to the inside, and gets Ramsey by a step and is able to win on this fade ball, right? So that is something that is going to get into a DB's head because we just beat him on a fade. Beating a DB on a fade, even when you don't get the ball thrown to you. Maybe it's a run play and your job is to run this guy off. I know high school wide receivers, youth wide receivers have to do that a lot. That is what can set you up for future success throughout the game. It is all a mind game. So obviously every DB that plays Davante Adams is expecting one thing. They're expecting this hesitation move, and he does it every single game. How has nobody been able to stop this type of move? Because he makes his routes look the same. He is unpredictable. He could do 3 separate routes, 3 separate releases, all off of the same hesitation stem, and that's what makes him unpredictable. You want to be unpredictable as a wide receiver because then a DB has to rely on his technique, and we got things for that as well. So he comes off the ball. How many times have you seen this guy hesitate and throw a crossover move and run a slant? Probably you can't even count how many times you've seen him do that. He wins all the dang time on that slant just by hesitating, throwing a cross. Now, he does the reverse of that. He runs a fade. He hesitates to the outside. What does he do? He crosses to the inside to sell a slant. Gives a little head and shoulder fake, a little cut to the inside just to hold that DB's leverage. Let's keep him honest to the inside so I could go run that fade. Now, then I'm going to play this full speed, and then we're going to show how he builds off of that. Because this play happened first, right? He beat this guy on a fade, beat Ramsey on a fade. So how can we set that up throughout the game? So now he comes across in motion, right? He gives the same kind of hesitation move, but he just takes off and goes because the DB is sitting to the inside, fellas. You have to understand that so much about that hesitation, so much about pairing the releases together is about getting in the DB's head. If I could get into his head and I can make my releases look the same, like I said, he's got no other options, fellas. He has to rely to his technique. He has to keep his leverage because there's always that threat of the slant. You hesitate, you cross him up, you run a slant. And I'm going to show an example of that in a second. You hesitate, he sits on the slant, you cross him up, you run the fade. Now, maybe you hesitate to the outside. I give him the same hezzy skip. He just wants to sit. He's not going to commit one way. He's not going to commit the other way. We could just hesitate and then go take off. It's all about having a plan with your feet. If you guys can have a plan with your feet, you guys can have a plan and structure the release a certain way. Trust me, fellas, that will make the DB's life a living hell because he has to focus on relying on his technique. He cannot anticipate. He cannot guess. DBs are very smart individuals. It is probably the second hardest position in all of sports, I would say. And ranked ahead of it is quarterbacks, 2 football positions. Now, when they're trying to study us, because as wide receivers, we study coverages, right? We try to study how this DB plays. We try to study if he's inside shade. We try to study how he plays off man, how he plays zone coverage. We try to study those things. A DB does the exact same thing. Now, maybe if you're at the high school level or maybe you're at the youth level, you might not be dealing with a DB who studies those things, more like a DB coach who studies those things. But if you're a wide receiver and on a fade ball, every single time you do a hesitation and go release like Davante Adams does right here and just relies on a foot race to go beat him, if that's your go-to every time, but you don't run anything else off of that, what do you think this DB is going to do when you do that hesitation move? You're going to hesitate, and he's just going to open up and run with you because he's expecting it, right? But if you can do a hesitation move, it looks the same, and you also have a crossover and run a slant, then you have the same hesitation and go run a fade, they can't predict what you are doing. You cannot be one-dimensional. So many wide receivers, and I see it, fellas, when we do one-on-ones at our camps, when I do one-on-ones with the guys that I train, and we have DBs out here, guys who do the same thing over and over and over again, but don't have anything to pair off of it, are the most unsuccessful. They might get a couple DBs on a couple reps, but if you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, you're going to get strapped. You're going to get locked up. There needs to be similarities, but there also has to be different things that you can do off of it. You have to be able to build off of it and pair off of it. So let's play this thing again full speed, and then we're going to show the slant example that I'm talking about. So he hesitates, takes off to the outside, and again, all we need is a step, especially at this level, fellas. All you need is a step on that DB. Okay, so now this can also, you can build off of the reverse of the fade. Maybe a couple times I've hesitated and gone fade. So now maybe I come off, I hesitate, I make it look like a fade. I get that DB to sit to the outside, and that opens up the slant. I could do it either way, fellas. I could either hesitate, go fade, hesitate, he thinks it's a fade and give a cross and go inside, or I could hesitate, cross inside, go fade, hesitate, cross outside, go slant, and then hesitate. Like it's all builds. I know that was a little confusing right there, but I could either hesitate, right, and set him up with the cross like so, get him on a slant. Maybe my job is just to get across the field. Maybe I'm not even getting the ball. He's thinking about that. He sits to the inside. We hesitate, and we go take the fade. There are so many things that you could do just by building off of a single move with your release. So, like, what's another one you could do, right? Because we talk about this hesitation one all the time. Now, what's another release you could do? Maybe we come off the ball, and instead of, like, doing this hesitation hop where we come to balance, we close the space with him, we hesitate, maybe we add some speed to it, right? Maybe a couple times we just do, like, a wide step where he just jabs to the outside, threatens his outside leverage, and runs a slant. And then maybe we do the same jab step, and then we throw an inside cut off of it. We go wide step, jab to the inside. Then maybe one time I throw a wide step, inside cut, outside cut. I do a 3-step. I go 1, 2, 3. It's all about pairing those releases together. Again, as a wide receiver, we can't make it complicated. You got maybe about 5 to 6 releases that you can use throughout a game. Right? That's as many as you should be thinking about based on the 5 or 6 different looks that this DB can give you. Now, you might be thinking, well, there's probably more than 5 looks that a DB can give, right? Yeah, absolutely. But when you're studying film, just like how a DB studies film of us, you should already know those 5 to 6 different looks that he has. It's not that complicated, especially I know a lot of you are high school wide receivers, youth wide receivers. It ain't that complicated at your level. If you have film on a team, you should know everything that DB likes to do. And it's most likely going to be a lot of zone, but when he does press, we should be able to eat that up. We should be thankful for press coverage because that's an opportunity to get a ton of separation. Let's play this thing again full speed, then we'll talk about one of the biggest mistakes that even Davante Adams makes sometimes with this release. So I think in the recent future, one of the only DBs to really lock down Adams, and I think Adams got him in the second matchup pretty good, but this game was probably one of the better games I've seen from a DB, and it's Patrick Surtain. And this is what DB coaches will teach to combat that hesitation move. They will teach a DB to just jam and get hands right now. So as a wide receiver, we got to be ready for that. And we got to make sure that when I do this hesitation move, if that's a release that you like, I have to be ready with my hands and I have to stay in a good explosive pad level position. So what does that exactly mean? So let's play this full speed. So when he comes off the line, Adams kind of exposes his chest there and allows Surtain to get hands inside of his frame. So he comes off the ball, he hesitates, but you see how his chest is exposed, right? When your hands are down by your side, not ready to roll. And I'm not saying you need to have your hands up by your chest and look like a robot. I would rather have wide receiver. Some of you might know how much I hate when receivers cross their hands off the line. Nothing I hate more than a receiver who's got his hands up by his neck like he's a robot. That's probably even worse because you're tense and you can't move. But we cannot have my hands down by my knees because when my hands are down by my knees, that exposes my chest. We just have to be ready for it. So like Adams is running a slant right here. If he's going to go two-handed jam, I want my hands to be ready to roll, so if he does jam, I know that I can just beat the inside hand. I swat the inside hand off. I'm not letting him get a good punch into my cushion. I just make sure that I am ready. Now, another mistake guys will do, not only have their hands down by their waist, but they'll do this hesitation move and they will pop directly up with their chest. They will stand up and expose their entire chest. That's the easiest way to get jammed. So we need to make sure anytime that I do a hesitation move, whether it's that hesitation skip and go, whether it's that hesitation cross to the inside and go, or whether it's that hesitation and then you cross to the outside and run a slant. Good pad level, make sure we're ready with my hands. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. So just make sure, fellas, we avoid that mistake when I'm doing this type of release. All right, fellas, really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. We always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, if you would like to come out and train with us in 15 different states this offseason, we are looking forward to coming out to a city near you. Check out that very first link in the description below for more information, where you can sign up and what to expect at our camps. I'll see you guys next time.